Can one slow down the aging process of the mind, or is it inevitable? Can one slow down the aging process of the mind, or the deterioration of the mind inevitable? This is a question that all of us are asking as we grow older. Everybody wants to slow down the process of aging, not only physically, but also mentally, intellectually, emotionally, and keep the capacity of heightened sensitivity. Right? We all want that, especially as one grows older. One can be old at the age of 10, or one can be old at the age of 90. So we must inquire, what do we mean by growing old? The world outside of us is always pressing down upon us. The world is becoming more and more dangerous, more and more violence, and if we do not respond to it correctly, we'll also be violent, we'll also be destructive and degenerating. So there is a problem, there is a question, can the brain keep young? Doesn't matter how old it is, can that brain be active, efficient, clear, and have the energy of youth to make decisions and maintain a certain standard of quality? That's the problem. That's the question. Right? Is this possible? We would all like to have very clear, precise, decisive brain, unconfused, uncluttered, always fresh, moving, not bogged down by problems. That's what we all would like, whether we are very young or very old. And what makes the brain old? Please, we are inquiring together, you are not just listening to the speaker. What makes the brain, which is, as we explained in the talks, is not our brain, is not a personal brain. That's rather childish and rather immature to think our brain is mine and yours. Because the brain has evolved through time, accumulated a great deal of knowledge, has been through great many experiences pain, sorrow, anxiety, all kinds of travail. It's not my brain or your brain, it's the brain of humanity that has manifested itself in each of us. I think we have talked about it very carefully, so we don't have to go into it. Now, so what makes the brain which is manifest in each of us old? We're worn down. Please, we're asking each other this question. Please think it out, not just wait for me to explain it. Any organism, any machinery wears down through friction. Friction, either artificially created, brought about, or the natural friction. Whether it is artificial or natural, it is friction. Everything wears down through friction. Friction being strain, disease, ill health, wrong behavior, and so on. It is inevitable that the brain should and must break down, deteriorate. And the questioner asks whether it is possible to keep it afresh. In investigating this question, what is the cause of this deterioration? Is it conflict? Perpetual conflict. Our life is not only conflict, but adjustment. We are exploring it together. You are not accepting what the speaker is saying. This question has been asked from the ancient of times. And apparently, very few have found the answer, the cause. Perhaps we can try to find the correct observation into this matter. Is it conflict? Conflict in our relationship? Conflict in becoming. I am this, I will be that. What is and what should be. What is and transform what is into the ideal. What is, that is what I am, what is at the present moment, what is actually happening inwardly, and that happening is translated according to the past or according to an ideological concept. So there is always this contradictory existence. This very contradiction is the cause, one of the causes of conflict. Right? Please, let's understand this very carefully. What is that which is actually happening, and we have the ideal, the opposite, and we strive to achieve the opposite. So there is always conflict. If this is very clear, then we can inquire if this conflict is necessary. You might say all life so far has been a series of infinite, many conflicts. It can never end. That's part of life. If you accept that, then inevitably the machinery, which is the brain, will wear down. But if you don't accept that conflict is necessary, then you can ask, as we are asking now, is conflict necessary? In all our fields, in relationship, in learning, in acquiring knowledge, conflict. Now, which means, does duality exist at all? The opposite. Right? Are we meeting each other? We are asking each other, does the opposite exist? Which is the contrary, which is something totally opposed to what is. That is, you're following all this, we are inquiring all this. Are you interested in all this? I hope the speaker is not making you interested in it. This is a natural interest of every human being. Wherever he be in the world, he wants to find out. And we are asking, is there a psychological opposite? There is the opposite, man, woman, darkness and light, pain and no pain. There is the opposite, naturally, but we're asking, is the conflict, does it exist in the psychological opposite? Is that clear? So, is there an opposite to what is? I am violent, and is there an opposite to violence? And many philosophers and many teachers and many idealists have said it. The opposite is the concept of non-violence. Right? There we have the problem right away. The concept and the fact. So, there is a division of time, right? Time being what is, and which is violence, that to be transformed through series of investigation to arrive at the opposite, which is non-violence, which is the end of violence, right? Now, where there is opposite, there must be conflict, good and bad, right? We're talking psychologically first. So, there is violence, probably in all human beings, inherited from the animal and so on, so on, so on, and cultivated carefully through nationalism, separatism, through the idea that each one of us is utterly separate from everybody else, psychologically. Right? Religions throughout the world have maintained this, that you are a separate soul. We have talked about that in the during the last 6 talks. And we're asking, is there psychologically an opposite to what is? Right? I am violent. Why does the thought create the opposite? The fact is, I am violent. The fact is, I am anxious. The fact is, I am greedy, envious, lonely. Those are facts. The opposite is a non-fact. Right? Do we accept that? What matters is not there should be freedom from violence. What matters is to understand the nature of violence and see if violence can end, not create the opposite. Right? The moment we create, thought creates the opposite, conflict begins. Is this clear? Can we go on from there? So, one is violent. Can we look at that quality, that reaction, and find out whether it's possible to end violence, not create a state of mind which says, I'm free from violence. Ending violence. You understand it? Not the continuation of violence as non-violence. Right? That is, the opposite is inevitably born from its own opposite. Right? So, is it possible to observe violence and end it? What is violence? Anger, the desire to hurt another. Violence is competition, comparison, imitation. All that is generally considered violence. An ambitious man is naturally violent. Right? We have described what is violence. And without creating the opposite, can this state of violence end? Right? Because we see the opposite must create conflict, right? But if I say to myself, I must end violence in order to achieve another state, that's again escaping from what is. Clear? So, can that end? And not let it continue in another form, at another level. Right? So, let's find out together whether violence, with all its extraordinary complexity, and that is, can we observe the reaction which the world has awakened, right? The word. For most of us, the word is extraordinarily important. So can we look at this reaction called violence without the word? Right? It's really quite complex issue, this. Can I look at my wife, if I have one, a girlfriend, without the word, without the word which creates the image, the word which is the symbol, and discover that thought is a movement of verbalization, right? Are you doing all this together, are we? Or are you merely listening to the speaker? You know, we are caught in a network of words. We are German, French, Italian, whatever it is. These are just labels, words. But behind that word is a great deal of culture, certain traditions, and so on, so on, so on. So can one observe this fact of violence without the word? That's the first question. Then, is the word creating the feeling? Right? You understand? When I say my wife, the word creates the feeling. So can we look at this reaction without the word? Right? See what the implications of that is. That is, the word is the remembrance or the association of the past incidents which have called violent. So when I use the word, I have related the present response to the past, and therefore the past is judged. Right? It's quite a lot of exercise of the brain. Exercise to observe very, very, very closely when you are looking at this fact of violence. So is there a freedom from the word so that to look? Right? When you free the brain, when there is freedom from the word, what remains? You understand? only the reaction, right? Which you have named as violent. I wonder if you follow on this. Are we meeting each other, or am I talking to myself? You see, in observation, not in observation, to be free of time. Right? I'll explain it more. Time being the past, right? Modifying the present and continuing, right? The past accumulation of memories, experience, knowledge, meeting the present, modified or not modified, and continuing, which is the future. Now, to look at violence without the idea of time. Good. Have you got this? Now, just a minute. To look at one's wife, or friend, or whatever it is, afresh. To look at something afresh, time cannot come into being. Right? If I look at my wife with all the past memories and incidents and so on, this accumulation, which is the result of time, is observing the wife. Right? So, can I look at the person whom I call my wife without the word and without time? You understand? Try to do it, as we're singing. You see, it requires a very, very close observation to do all this. It requires a brain that's active, not just a yes. A brain that is alert and sensitive to this question. To observe without time and the word. Time being all the accumulated knowledge about her or about him. Then you are observing the person or that reaction afresh. Right? We're doing this. And the question is it possible not for the brain not to deteriorate? And we said conflict is one of the factors of deterioration. Strain, pressure, the urge to achieve, the urge to become something psychological. All these are factors of conflict. Now we observe the whole movement of violence, which is one of the major factors of factors in which conflict is involved, right? Now, can this conflict psychologically, inwardly end? Please ask yourself. Let's go into it again carefully. because one can see any machinery which is in perpetual movement, however well oiled, but constantly moving, must wear down. And one of the factors is the thought. Right? Thought is perpetually active. Right? Now, can thought, which is chattering all the time, creating pictures, all that, can thought come to an end in observing itself in action? You understand? Oh Lord. Which is, can thought quiet down? Because the thought is constantly active. Therefore, the brain is constantly being chattering, arguing, discussing. You follow? Can that brain, with its movement of thought, quiet down? Right? And they have said it is possible if you do certain things. Meditate, sit quietly, go for a walk by yourself, all that. Right? But all that has a motive, a cause, because you think by quieting down, the brain will become not so old, right? So where there is a motive, the end is merely a continuation of in another form, right? I wonder if you understand all this. So, sir, you're not used to this kind of thinking. You're not used to investigation, free investigation. So, we're asking whether the brain, which has become mechanical, which is constantly active, can that activity slow down? Can that activity stop? What is the motive behind that desire, that question? Can it stop? Is it that you want to have a brain that is very young? Therefore, there is a motive behind it. That very motive is going to destroy your investigation. Right? So, can one be free of all motives in looking at this fact? Right? If there is freedom from motive, however subtle, however hidden, then can conflict end? Now this is the question, can conflict end? Who is going to answer it? The speaker, or you have investigated, explored into it, and it's burst open, and you have to answer it yourself, right? Can you look at it and find out? Suppose if the speaker says yes, it can end, then where are you? It's not important. What is important is to find for oneself. So the question is answered.